Manager Duffy, can you please establish a quorum? Could you establish a quorum?
I will,
Thank you.
yes. So we want to make sure that everybody has their microphones on, first off, and as Justin was just saying, and Emily, have them as close as you can up here. You'll note there's a little bit of a delay between my speaking and when it comes out of the speaker. So the key is going to be moderate. Moderate your speaking voice. And I think it's going to work. I'm going to establish a call to order. Councilmember Louis Lusso. Present. Councilmember Swatsky.
Present.
Councilmember Scafani.
Present.
Councilmember Napier. Here. And Councilmember Bale.
Here.
Bayless.
All right, now that we've established a quorum, can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second. For a second to the motion to approve the agenda. We have a second. Yeah.
Great. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Moving on to item number 4, public comment on non-agenda items. Does anyone wish to speak for public comment? These are items that aren't on the normal agenda. Correct.
I do have one item. This came in after the posting of our agenda, but I want to announce that the City of Blue Lake was awarded 3 awards at last week's California Water Environment Association Treatment Plant of the Year for 2025, Collection System of the Year for 2025, and Glenn Bernal received Supervisor of the Year for 2025.
Does the public wish to speak? Seeing none, Julie, I think that's you. You want to speak?
So for some reason, we're not picking you up. So speak a little longer than you normally would, and I think that it'll pass over. You got it.
Great, right, during a meeting, this is challenging. Anyway. Julie, Christie, go ahead.
Like mine?
I can't hear anything.
Yeah. Can we hear her? We can. So I want to let council members know that earlier today, Justin and Emily spent quite a bit of time to get the system all proofed out. And at the end, his computer crashed. So he has now had to reset up a new computer, and he's trying to get everything fed back in. So all of this was working perfectly earlier today. Best laid plans. While they are working on trying to get Julie and other attendees, I do want to let folks know we don't have person to do the recording of the minutes, so I will be collecting the minutes, and I'll need to make sure that everybody is enunciating and being really clear about motions. Okay. Any luck? Any luck?
Test, test, test.
Better?
That's better. So I guess we'll wait here for Julie, or should we come back to public comment later?
We can't really hear you guys on Zoom, so I'm not sure. I'm just putting it out there. We can't hear you guys. The side room would be a better venue. It's more closed in.
He's got the speakers off while Zoom is on.
Julie, anything else, or anyone else wish to comment on public comment? All right, seeing none, let's move on to consent agenda. Monthly disbursement of period October 1st through October 31st, 2025. Does anyone have any questions for staff or wish to have anything pulled?
I have a suggestion. If we could turn that screen off so we can lower the background noise, it
We
might be
just talked
better.
about this as you were coming in to see if we could turn off the blower, but then it ends up dropping the screen.
Right, but we can't see the screen anyway, so it's not helpful for the people in the room. So we might as well turn it off.
All right.
I'll just have staff let us know who is on Zoom and wishes to talk.
I couldn't hear you. Lynn Glenn just raised her hand.
Lennon, go ahead. Give us one moment, switch it over.
Well, I can virtually have no audio. I have an iPad right now, and I've heard just kind of a little faint echo, but I can't hear you at all. That's all I can say, because I won't hear your answers, I don't think. Thank you.
I also cannot.
All right, Elise, go ahead. Let's try monthly disbursements.
Motion to approve. I think we're looking for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? To approve the consent calendar.
I have a second.
We have a first and a second of approving the consent calendar.
Public comment?
Yes. Does the public wish to comment? Zoom wish to comment? I can't see it.
Public comment?
Okay, all right. We have a first and a second. All of them in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none, it passes. Moving on to public 250267-011-2025, variance of date and Maureen Comfort to allow construction of new garage located within the required 15-foot side yard setback pursuant to the municipal code 17.418. City staff, would you like to vote on this?
Yes. So good evening, council. I'm Penelope Kirsch. I'm a planner with SHN and I'm contracted by the city of Blue Lake. I'm here to present the variance for Mr. Comfort. So just some background on why we are here tonight. This item was originally brought to the October 20th Planning Commission. However, the commission was unable to achieve a quorum. So as a result, the variance application was continued until either the vacant commission seats were filled or until council adopted an urgency ordinance, which allows council to act on planning commission items when a quorum can't be met. Fortunately, council adopted the urgency ordinance on the 28th meeting, which enables you to take action on this variance application tonight. So thank you for doing so. This helps ensure that Mr. Comfort, along with other applicants, to have actions reviewed on when the planning commission can't meet quorum. So about this project, this is for a
Penelope?
reduced side
Penelope, that's me.
setback for a proposed 576 square foot garage. Is it?
It's me.
Yeah.
If you slow down just a little bit, then the speakers will pick you up better. Thank you.
Okay. So this project site is located on Wall and C Streets, and according to Blue Lake Municipal Code, detached accessory structures on corner lots need to maintain a minimum setback from any property line with street frontage equal to the front yard setback required on adjacent interior lots. Meaning, instead of complying with a normal side yard setback of 4 feet, they must meet a 15-foot setback from the side property line, and that is C Street. The applicants are proposing a side yard setback.
So you can speak a little louder and slower. You got this.
The applicants are proposing a side setback of 8 feet 9 inches, which is greater than the setback for the existing garage that currently stands. So I'm gonna dive into some thrilling Blue Lake Municipal Code language so everybody can understand what the variance findings are that City Council has to make in order to approve this variance. So the first finding, a variance must avoid granting a special privilege that other nearby neighbors don't enjoy. It applies only when unique circumstances like the property's size, shape, topography, location, or surroundings make strict zoning rules unfair compared to similar properties in the same zone. And finding 2, the variance will not be contrary to the intent of the zoning regulations or contrary to the public interest, safety, health, and welfare, and literal enforcement of the zoning regulations would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardships. So with these code requirements in mind, I'm going to go over what the applicant is proposing and how they'll justify the variance. The proposed garage will have a side yard setback of 8 feet 9 inches, which is an improvement over the existing garage's 4 foot 9 inch setback. Many neighboring properties, including those directly east and west, already have structures with reduced setbacks, similar to what is being proposed. This pattern exists because the structures were built before the current R1 zoning setbacks were established. As you can see from the application materials that I've handed out, structures along C Street and adjacent to the project site also have non-conforming setbacks. So based on this information, finding what could be made since the nearby properties already have reduced setbacks that are similar to the proposed garage. And finding 2 could also be made because the variance would not be contrary to the public interest, safety, health, and welfare, and the proposed 8-foot 9-inch setback is actually an improvement on the existing 4-foot 9-inch setback from the current garage. We also circulated, did we just cut the mic?
Just project.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
much better.
The mics are still on,
Okay.
but do your best just to project in
Okay,
a
I can
small room.
project. So we also circulated this project around city departments. We didn't receive comments. The only comment we received was from Public Works, and they noted that there is no issues with the variance. And they highlighted that the proposed garage would actually be an improvement compared to the existing garage structure. We did receive 2 public comments during the noticing period. One comment opposed the project, and another one was in support of the project. And these comments can be found towards the end of the staff report packet for you guys to review. That's all I have from this presentation. So staff recommends that City Council receive comments from the applicant, who is here today, and open up the public hearing, and then discuss this with city staff and hopefully adopt a resolution.
Great, thank you. So we'll come back for questions from the council.
Yes, me and Gary will be here for questions.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And I do want to know that there were 2 pieces of correspondence that was received, one in support and the other requesting denial, and those are both in your packet.
Can I ask a question on the denial right now, or do we wait for the person first?
You can ask a question. I may or may not be able to answer it.
Was the person who was requesting we deny it, had they had some involvement with that property, or was it just in
This
general?
is a public action, and because it's a public action, anybody can either support or oppose the proposed action. So you received 2 letters. There's no restrictions when somebody wants to come in, and especially if they're in the community when it's happening. So it's just taken into the record.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Do the applicants want to come forward and make some comments? Generally, Gary, point of order, do you usually have time limitations on this, their presentation?
I'll be
Okay,
pretty brief.
okay, sounds
Yeah.
good.
I couldn't hear what she was saying much, but we read through the packet and we agreed with, I think, everything that was there. And it was pointed out that the neighborhood's going to look better and that we're going to make it's going to improve as far as the distance from the street and that sort of thing. And it's going to be more compatible now with the other homes in the neighborhood. And then I wanted to ask, Jill, did you say there were 3 letters? We've only seen 2. Okay,
Only 2.
okay.
And can I ask that you identify yourself for the
Yeah,
record?
my name is Lorraine Comfort. We're at 540 Wall Street, and my husband, Jace Comfort, is here as well. Wanted to say that we appreciate the time that was put in by the folks that do these things. And we figured out, once we started looking at it, it's a lot of work. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, great. I'll wait till we're done with them, and then I'll bring her forward. Yes, anyone else wish to speak on this item? Great.
Hello, my name is Frank Gonsalves. I am the owner of Dan Kinsey Construction. And if this does get approved, the variance, I would be the one constructing the garage for Mr. and Mrs. Comfort.
Great.
And first city council meeting, I want to thank everybody and glad to be part of it. Thank you.
Great,
Can I
thank
get your last name again?
Gonsalves, Gonsalves.
Thank you.
Great. Any other comments from the public? Or excuse me, the applicants? And then I'll get. All right, seeing none, can we go ahead and open up for public comment, or do we go to staff first?
Go to the public comment, unless there was something specific that was asked for Gary or Penelope to answer.
Great. Public comment now? Adeline, go ahead.
Adeline Jones. I live about 2 blocks away from the Comforts, and I'm in favor of this project. I think it looks solid. One thing I want to point out is the picture that is in your agenda item 6 on page 11. does not accurately show what that street looks like now. The neighbors to the east, thank you, of the Comforts have built a two-story addition to their home. So if you look at that picture at the bottom of page 11 there, where there's a tree on the middle right there, there should be a two-story structure that's going up. It's got Tyvek on it. It's pretty close to being done, it looks like. But anyway, especially given the fact that the neighbors have done this addition, I think that this garage would not be a problem at all for the neighborhood. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Your call.
Sure, go ahead.
That picture that she's speaking of, she said there's a big tree, that tree's gone.
Okay.
And that's at the corner of our lot, and that's about where the garage would be at the east edge.
And then the nearest neighbors are aware that you're going to be putting a garage in, is that correct?
Yes, you have something from Stephen Wright in your packet.
Great.
He owns a house right directly behind us.
Great. All right, any other public comment? Julie Christie, I believe you had your hand up. Do we have audio for her, Justin?
Thank you, everybody in the house. I know we have a little bit of accommodations to be custom tonight. I did check in with Justin, so I hope you guys can hear me okay. So I do want to concur with the commission's recommendation to move forward with this variance. I think it's very applicable for the setting and surroundings, and actually for the livability and the quality of life for the family there. They earned it, and I think that's gonna add to the property quality of life for them. I think that's something we really should think about. And I hope you guys can hear us okay. Zoom is better a little right now, but, we can, hopefully be here by you guys. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you, Julie. Anyone else on Zoom, Emily? Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council. See if we have any questions for staff on this item. Does the council have any questions for staff? Yes, Kat,
Yes,
go
I
ahead.
think-
Let's wait for them to come up.
Hi, quick question. Hi, Penelope.
Hi.
What is the required setback from the rear of the property?
It's 4 feet or 20% of the depth for the rear property.
Is it whichever is greater or whichever is less?
Gary's got this.
Okay.
So the lot is zoned R1, so if this were, say, a single-family residence, then the rear yard setback would be 20% of the depth to a maximum of 20 feet. Private garages, okay. Private garages are allowed to have a 4-foot setback if they meet certain height.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further, yes, Gary, go ahead.
So I also have a question. In here, it says that the proposed building will go into an abandoned alleyway, and I can see that the structure actually steps into that. Is that abandoned just because it's not maintained, or was there a formal way that that alleyway is no longer accessible?
I guess, was that property conveyed in title
Yeah.
to those owners?
Which side are you talking about?
So where the proposed shop is?
East of
On
it?
the east side, yes.
I was not aware of that alley. I don't think it's going to affect that alley, and are you aware of that alley, Gary? Abandoned by the city.
Okay, so, and that right-of-way belongs to that property?
It would belong to the property adjacent to them, because it doesn't belong to the Comforts.
Okay.
So,
they're proposing to build a structure on property that is not theirs? Is that
No,
what
they're
this
proposing
proposal-
to build a structure on their property.
Okay, we're trying to understand if that abandoned alley property was conveyed in title to that owner.
Yeah, the property owners can speak to that.
is that your question? Yes. Okay.
Many years ago, when the family that bought that place, they wanted to have the alley abandoned. And so, after many planning commission meetings, which I attended, they decided that they would abandon it. So that stuff should all be in city records because it was approved by the city. We have had lots of information about it. We've probably, gotten rid of most of it because it was a long time ago. But that property definitely, what's there belongs to us, and the other side belongs to Stephen Wright, who wrote to you with the packet. Yeah, so there's no question in our minds, and probably not in your minds, that there would be any issues.
So are you saying that the alleyway, that property belonging, where you are going out, then part of that alleyway belongs to the neighbors or the?
I forget exactly how it turned out, but definitely.
If we, let's have you speak up on the microphone for the record. Yeah.
Jace is saying that we each, the Wrights and us, we each gained 5 feet.
Okay.
But there's, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Hi.
Yes, Councilman here.
We thought we had.
I thought you had a question.
So I still, I appreciate for the applicant coming forward and making the statement that it's 5 feet either way. I think it's incumbent on us to see actual documents that show that conveyance. So if, staff goes through whatever process that they need to, because we don't certainly want to approve building a structure on land that isn't theirs. That would put them in a terrible situation. So, and similarly, I also have a property that has an abandoned conveyance, so I'm very hopeful it'd come forward, but I think that's a question to get cleared up.
Okay.
And then while I have the floor, first, when I first read through this, first I want to apologize that you have to go through now the commission and this extra time to get answers. And I was very hopeful to say immediately, yes, let's move forward. But in a second review, I have to point out that there is something that, it's one thing to say that where it was 4 feet 9, now it's 8 feet 9 or 4 feet 5 inches, that this is an improvement. But these are two different structures. The original structure is not a garage. And so when you have a garage, I think that it's important to have the building inspector weigh in on the code requirements, because if you have a vehicle backing out of a garage, and they can't see until that vehicle is already in the roadway. So I think that it has been an unfortunate misnomer to call the old structure a garage when it is a workshop. It's a very different function that's occurred there. And then the second is to not, I understand that oftentimes when you don't get a response, whether it's from the volunteer fire department or from the building inspector, that's taken as implicit approval. But my question to the building inspector would be, what is the required distance for a garage to the roadway? The reason I bring this up, it's twofold. One, because currently it is not a garage. And second, even though it is further from the street from the original structure, it is much closer to the property line, thereby restricting the line of sight of that neighboring garage backing out. Thirdly, in this, I don't understand why the variance, when there exists on that property room for it to be placed without a variance. I'm not understanding a compelling reason to do that variance when I think it does present itself as a hazard to the public to place a garage less than, I think, normally 25 feet, where the line of sight is restricted, and it's apparent that there are issues on A Street as indicated by the speed bumps that have been installed. So my request as a council member would be to have the Blue Lake Fire Department officially respond, the distance of the setback. A garage storing flammable materials is different than another structure that might not, and it's in close proximity, so I would hope that they could take a look and sign off, and all that would be good. But also, I would request that we do have the building inspector weigh in with considerations to line of sight, and what is the minimum distance that that garage could be from the roadway? You know, what does code typically require?
We can definitely follow up with fire and building and see what their take is on this. Usually after we approve a project or planning commission or city council in this case, they would come in and apply for a building permit, and that's when the fire inspector would come out, and that's when the building inspector would come out, and they would, look at it, inspect it, and let us know if it would meet building requirements. And then within that building permit process, that's when they would be able to make amendments or adjust their, hey, you need to push it back farther so there's vision clearance, or you need to move it this way, or the fire can comment and say, hey, you need to have a fire-rated wall, or this X, Y, Z.
Sure.
But if that's something you want, so you can make an informed decision tonight, we can definitely follow up with fire and building and get those comments for you. And we can also look at the abandoned alley issue. We looked through the files and didn't see anything of that, but we can dig deeper and maybe pull up little parcel maps or stuff like that and do more research to see what the actual title was.
And I'm very hopeful that it will show that that property was properly conveyed.
Yes.
But I think that we put the residents as well as the council in a precarious position if we approve without that clarity.
Yes, yes. And what Gary was telling me earlier is usually when they abandon alleys, they just split it right down the middle, and, one property owner gets half of it and the other gets the other half. So we'll definitely can look that up and follow up and provide that information to you if that's something you need to make a decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then to be clear, with the building inspector, it is very specific to line of sight and minimum distance from roadways per code. Because like I said, I haven't seen a compelling reason for the variance because there's not another structure that prohibits it from being placed within the ordinary setbacks. Thank you.
Thank you.
So quick question again, just for clarification. The building inspector didn't come look at this, or they just
We
didn't
referred it
respond?
out to them, and we referred, pretty much, it's like a mini staff report and has all the pictures and all the applicant materials, and we did not receive a response.
And that's generally they're okay with it, or that's just they didn't get a
If
response?
there's no comment, then I can't assume if they approve or deny it.
Great.
Usually, since it's such a small staff, if they had a problem, they usually come up and say, hey, I think they should move it back, or they should do this or that. And I did not receive any comments in writing or verbally, so
I mean,
can't
to
really
Kat-
speak for him.
To Kat's point, I don't think we're going to be trying to get any alleyways back at this
No,
point. No, I
no,
know. I'm just saying, I don't want to like hamstring this project. I want to get it moving forward. How long would it take for us to get a response back from these entities? Like by next month, or?
The building inspector, I think we can get a hold of him probably tomorrow. As for the volunteer fire department, I'm not sure. Through other projects, it has been a little hard to get a hold of them. I think that's more of a question maybe Gary or maybe Jill can answer. We could always just go knock on the fire station door and ask. Yeah, Gary can address that.
So, if you look at the options for city council action for this item, there's been some comments raised by some of the council members saying, I have concerns about approving this with the information before us. I'm not hearing anybody necessarily wanting to deny it. So what that takes you to is option 3.
Okay.
And that's basically saying we're requesting additional information, and usually what you would do is you would continue the item to the next meeting agenda. I think we're proposing to have a special meeting on December 2nd. We may be able to get that information by then.
And if you don't have the information by then, it could go to the regular meeting on December 23rd.
That's correct.
For the question for the applicants, when were you guys trying to get this started?
Probably in the fall.
We've been waiting a little while, but we'll be patient.
Okay, great. Does the council have any other questions for staff or the applicants? All right. Do we need to make, sorry, first planning commission
Yeah,
meeting?
go ahead.
Do we
I
need to
would
make a
say
motion?
let's have a motion to approve option number 3, to continue the meeting until December 2nd, pending the development of information to respond to council members' request.
So moved?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have
Thank you.
First and a second. All those in favor say aye of approving option number 3 to request additional information and continue the item to the next meeting agenda. Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, it passes. So we'll be taking this on at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Will it be before the council again, or the planning committee coming back on? Council?
Yes.
We didn't open it up for.
It'll be before council.
Okay. Thank you.
We didn't take public comment on this. Do we need to go ahead?
Didn't you take public
Yeah, you
comment?
did.
We did,
Yeah,
okay.
you did.
I did.
Okay.
I thought you did already, but go ahead and take it.
Julie Christie, go ahead.
Just a suggestion to our staff and council that, especially taking over the responsibilities of planning commission when they're absent, that when we have a motion, we should then have public comment. I know sometimes stuff gets shifted through, but it's not really fair to the applicant and the public to reflect their thoughts prior to a motion. And actually this happened at supervisors like literally yesterday. So please take it with a grain of salt, okay? But just throwing it out there. Yeah, we appreciate it. I appreciate Kat. Yeah, thank you, Kat. You had some valid points. So yeah, I agree with it, but you know what? These guys have been waiting too. So let's do our homework for next meeting and let's get the variance. I think it's warranted. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Julie. Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say, in response to the comment, it's really up to the council's discretion as to when public comment is received. Oftentimes, it's staff report, initial council discussion, public comment, then motion. And then, of course, if you've already called for public comment, you don't need to do it again once a motion's been made.
Great.
But it's really up to the council's discretion, but I think that works the best.
Great. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 7, approval of resolution 1246 for submittal of community development block grant funding to support housing element 7 cycle. City staff, would you like to fill us in on this?
I'll go ahead and introduce the item. As council members are aware, we do need to initiate the planning efforts for the 7th cycle housing element so that we can make sure that we meet our deadlines by August 27th, August of 2027. And it came to our attention that there are some funds that are available from CDBGE. And I want to let you know that between the time of putting this staff report together, in which we had, we were under the understanding at that time that the application would open on December 1st. In the last couple of days, CDBG has changed this. So we actually have some more time. And so we spoke with a representative of CDBG earlier today. So Gary's going to go ahead and provide an update. So it's going to allow us a better opportunity than trying to do a mad scramble to pull together information. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, so as Jill noted, city's got to comply with 7th cycle housing element update requirements, and we need to find funding for the city to do that. HCD recommended the CDBG program, which can fund planning documents like this. So that's something we would definitely encourage the city to pursue. We had scrambled to get the resolution together and all of that because, as Jill noted, we thought we had very little time for the application period to open. It is now opening on February 2nd. And it will be closing, or the deadline for submittal of applications is in April. That's what we found out today. So that gives us a little more time. So right now, we're looking at, yes, let's try and get funds for the 7th cycle housing element update. Now, there's also a program in the 6th cycle. It's program HI-18 that says within 2 years of adoption of the 6th cycle element that the city would do improvements to its wastewater treatment facility. So looking into this funding further, we also saw that those type of improvements potentially could be paid for by this funding as well. And that's also of huge interest to staff as well. We would like to see the city get funding for that as well. and also to be able to meet that deadline. So we're looking through the notice of funding availability, the grant manual, all this stuff to make sure the city meets the threshold requirements and all of that. This is an opportunity now to take public comment, hear from the public on things they think the city should apply for. We're recommending for sure the 7-cycle housing element update and potentially the improvements to the wastewater treatment facility. The public may have other ideas, the council may have other ideas. So, over the next few weeks, months, before we submit an application, we have an opportunity to refine this, determine, what amounts the city would like to put into this application. Right now, we were proposing approximately $175,000 for the housing element update. That would allow the city to hire a consultant that is a specialist in doing housing element updates, and we recommend that that's the route that the city goes. Other than that, the city engineer is working on an updated cost estimate for those wastewater treatment facility improvements, and hopefully we would have those in time to submit the application. There are some readiness requirements that you have to demonstrate for a infrastructure improvement, such as what would be proposed with the wastewater treatment facility. We will need to discuss that with the city engineer and make sure we can have bid-ready documents, an independent cost estimate, all that kind of stuff. So that's the stage we're at. This has mostly become an information-only item, so we can present information to the council, and also an opportunity for you to take input from the public on what potentially the city could apply for. Are there any questions for staff?
Any questions, council?
To be clear, we are not asking for the adoption of the resolution because, as I had noted, the staff report was put together when we thought we were going to be meeting a December 1st deadline. So knowing that we're going to have the opportunity to be putting together a packet for submittal in February, this will come back to you with more details as far as what the ask is going to be and the amounts. And then, of course, it will provide an opportunity for council and the public to make any additional suggestions around some potential funding opportunities. There are a few things that we could be looking at. So this just buys us a little time. So we're not asking for any action on this item this evening because of the new information. It's being able to have that conversation and we can take comments on it.
Great. So last call for council question. Yes, go ahead.
One quick question. Are there any matching funds required, or this is
There
straight
are
grant
no
money?
matching funds required.
Yeah, there's a few. We asked them a lot of questions today, and we're going to be following up with them with a list of things they couldn't just answer off the top of their head. But
Yeah.
yes, no matching funds required. So that makes this funding source even more enticing for a community like Blue Lake. We also asked about reimbursing for the city costs incurred prior to signing the grant agreement, such as if the city is required by HCD to begin hiring a consultant to work on the 7th cycle, and that happens before these funds are awarded, would we be able to get reimbursement for costs incurred prior to grant agreement? So we will be giving that in a more detailed question to them as well. So we're really trying to, ask it from all angles to see if this is a good fit for Blue Lake and would work, so.
Great, thank you, Gary. Does the public wish to comment on this item?
Adeline Jones. This is indeed good news, and we should treat it as such. I'm so excited that we can use some of our money from the Community Development Block Grant Program for something in a positive way to get things moving for affordable housing in Blue Lake. I'm a big advocate of that. And I also think any improvements to our wastewater treatment plant should be something we pursue. And it's good news that we have till February, so it's just good news all around. So we should be celebrating that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other public comment from the people present? All right, seeing none, do we have anybody on Zoom? All right, bring it back to council. This is just a discussion item now. There's no action needed. Last call for questions. All right. Moving on to item number 8. Approval of the employee insurance coverage through Redwood Empire Municipal Insurance Fund. City Manager Duffy, would you like to fill us in on this item?
We got lots of things to fill you in on. At the last meeting, can you guys hear me okay back there? Okay. Once upon a time, I did some voice training, learning how to project my voice, and I always like to double check that I still got it. At the last meeting, we'd had a conversation about FRMS, that was the Fire Risk Management Safety, and they were the entity that provided health insurance coverage for your employees. At that last meeting, we talked about the fact that that particular entity had experienced about $11 million in claim losses, and they were going to be clawing back approximately $80,000 from the city of Blue Lake. They've done the same thing with all of its members. The city of Ferndale received a bill for $66,000, and so as you run through, it's pretty significant. Their board had a conversation around what the rate increase would look like in order to continue coverage until July of 2026. And the rate increase that they were projecting was a 60% increase. So their response was to pass a resolution which essentially let all of its covered members know that they were terminating medical coverage effective December 31st of 2025. Obviously, this now necessitates the city to really scramble in an effort to evaluate other insurance providers in order to make sure that we have uninterrupted coverage for our employees. I presume that most of you have had a chance to read through the report that are here, perhaps not for the members of the public, but I do want to note that the city provides 100% health coverage for employees and their dependents. And employees do contribute $300 for their dependents, for a single dependent, and 2 dependents or more are $600 that they reimburse the city for that. So as I had noted, I initiated quote requests from multiple insurance providers, and this included both private providers as well as self-insured pools. Private providers, of course, assume the financial risk and administrative responsibility related to paying of the claims, and they charge a fixed premium, which is typically higher than you're going to see from a self-insured pool. Self-insured pools typically will form an organization to manage and then pay the claims out directly from those pooled funds. Recognizing, of course, that FRMS was a self-insured pool, I anticipated that there might be a little hesitation of getting burned, if you will. So I really wanted to make sure that I had some good quotes we can draw from. So I made some requests to different providers and then provided a review for both EPO, which is Exclusive Provider Organization, and PPO, Plan Options. PPO is a Preferred Provider Organization. And we received 6 quotes from 5 insurance providers, and that included Keenan. Keenan is the insurance provider who had been doing some of the underwriting for FRMS. Ernst & Lewis, they're located over in the Central Valley. Alchemy, and many people will actually know them by their more local name, which was Polly Shaw. Heidi Olson Insurance, she's located in Fortuna, and the Redwood Empire Municipal Insurance Fund. Some folks may remember REMIF, because we actually have a long history with REMIF, and requested the equivalent coverage levels and the costs that had been previously provided by FRMS. I do want to note that Heidi Olson had provided 2 quotes, which is the reason we have 6 in their entirety. I was taking a look at 3 primary criteria. One was the total premium cost to the city, because I was trying to work within the preliminary budget estimates that we had received, and then taking a look at plan comparability. So with what FRMS was providing in terms of the health insurance coverage and how could we kind of get as close as we could for employees. And then, of course, there was the administrative support. Folks that have had close working relationships with private providers can attest to the fact that they could call up their insurance provider, make questions, get answers, as well as with REMIF. And so REMIF is able to provide the same level of service that we would see with a private provider. And that's really important because you don't necessarily need to have your staff talking to your management about what kind of health issues they're having. So they're being able to have conversations directly with a representative of the insurance industry is really important from that. So as noted, I've got a summary, this little short chart. This was based on monthly premiums and then the annual cost estimate. And I do want to note there's some variations here. I mean, this was apples and oranges and a few other things. So for Poly Harbor, their proposal is higher than you would expect, and in comparison to the others, in part because they were also providing us some quotes for some of the part-time employees. Whereas the others were quotes for positions that were filled. So I couldn't say we have 10. They would only give me a quote for 8. In one case with Keenan, we had 2 people that were receiving insurance that were both on PPO. We only have 1 on PPO now. So it's been a lot to kind of, figure out those pieces. But as we started sorting through and then, kind of making just some rough, simplistic adjustments, where we came down to was with REMIF. They do provide Anthem Blue Cross. We have the coverage that was provided by FRMS was Blue Shield. The EPO 250 and the PPO 500. And the monthly premium is about $15,538, represents $186,000. And that happened to be the lower of the 6 provisions. With respect to REMIF themselves, they've been a longstanding joint powers authority. I think they got their start sometime in the 1970s. So we were talking about a self-insured pool that has been around for a number of decades now. And they have provided, in the beginning, they've provided health insurance coverage to public agencies. But once upon a time, they were also providing workers' compensation. They provided the city's general liability and property liability. And in 2021, REMIF and PARSAC that provided, they were another joint powers authority, they merged and they became CIRA. And so the city is also a member of CIRA. So CIRA is the California Interagency Risk Authority. And our general, property, and workers' compensation is all handled through CIRA. Well, why didn't they take on the health coverage? Because PARSAC and REMIF's packages were really different. And so they couldn't do it at that time. So they've been working towards trying to figure out how to get the different plans aligned, because they're also having to deal with retiree insurance and a whole host of other variables that I can't get my brain wrapped around. I'm really glad I never went into insurance for the record. But they're anticipating that in July of 2026, that they're going to be able to merge all of the health insurance underneath the CIRA umbrella. Again, an organization that we have had a long relationship with. One of the pieces around the enrollment period, REMIF provides services to public agencies. Public agencies run on a fiscal year, July 1 through June 30th. We are proposing to step in the middle of a fiscal year. And so they're willing to, fold us in, as well as the city of Ferndale and a few others. If we decide that you want to pursue another insurance provider, it's really important to build in at least a 6-month period for evaluation, securing, and conducting the enrollment. because it's really closer to a 6-month period to make this kind of transition. And the fact that we're doing it in essentially 8, well, not quite 8 weeks, but about 8 weeks is actually pretty remarkable with their ability to be trying to pivot with us. And we're needing for them to get all of this processed before January 1st, which is when the employees would be losing their coverage. Another note as far as REMIF, I had it was a really productive and informative conversation with their executive director, and she walked through their regular reviews. They have a committee that meets every 2 weeks in order to go over claims, in order to ensure that they, as a self-insured pool, that they are going to be able to meet the claims, look at the risk, figure out if they need to draw down upon their reserves. They have a very healthy reserve. They are in no way, shape, or form in the same condition that FRMS is in. But they are aware that across the industry, there are 3 really big variables that we should all be aware of because it's affecting all of our insurance rates. One, there seems to be a higher number of claims that are coming through. The other is the uncertainty at the federal level with respect to what's going to be happening with the Affordable Health Care Act. It's a real uncertainty, and it sounds like a number of the larger entities, Kaiser and some of the others, have some real concerns looking a few years out. The other is the unanticipated impact that prescription medications are having, and in particular the GLP-1 medications. And on the one hand, you think it's just a medication, what's the big deal? Well, I'll just use myself. My insurance premium out of pocket, because I'm private pay, is $1,400 a month. If I was needing to take a GLP-1, that costs $1,200 a month for that medication. All of a sudden, they're starting to take a loss. If I was younger and I was in the $800 range, they're actually in the negative, and they're seeing this across the board. So they are monitoring this very closely, and it is a concern, and it's far bigger than REMIF. It's across the insurance industry altogether. I do want to note that if the city decides that they want to participate in REMIF's health program, it would do so as a participating member. We wouldn't be a full JPA member because we are still with CIRA. If we wanted to, we could take a look at that, but we only need to be a participating member for this period. Ryan's had an opportunity to review the document for form and any other jack-in-the-boxes that we might not anticipate, and he's been fine with that. And I think that concludes my report. The only thing I want to note is that for the alternatives, the alternative to council is to approve a different plan through a different broker, like we've already got lined out here, or a private provider. And the primary impact would be, number one, an increase of costs. The second would be a question about whether they could pivot quickly, given the short time frame right now, or to defer action, which of course we don't recommend because we would have a potential lapse in our employee health coverage. So I believe that is it. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Council,
Sorry.
go ahead. Ms. Kafani.
I'm looking at the EPO and the PPO, and the EPO is 3 times what the PPO is. So is there an additional fee for the PPO? Is that what this says? Where it shows, like at the bottom of your summary page, EPO is over $2,000 per.
Yeah, it's not quite $2,000. I think it was, but it, in essence, yes. And that is drawn on the fact that the PPO, their deductible is significantly higher than the EPO. The EPO has a deductible of $250. The PPO, I believe, was either, I think it was $1,000 or $1,500. So the difference with the PPO and the EPO, give me half a minute, I brought my handy dandy chart. The EPO deductible in network this was for single, I have to make sure I'm interpreting these things right, was $250 in network only. The PPO in network was $500, out of network is $1,000.
Any further questions?
Well, I guess up until this moment, I've been under the impression that a PPO was a higher level plan and it cost more than an EPO.
That was always my assumption as well. This is the proposal, and that was one of the reasons that I was really having some challenges looking at all the different plans, because I was seeing the same thing with the other plans.
Okay. And then my other question is where the city provides 100% health coverage for employees and then with a small payment on dependents, is that part of the part of city employment policy, or what is that?
That is correct.
Okay.
There was a resolution that was passed, I believe, in 2017, in which that was established. It is a policy. It is certainly something that can be revisited as part of a process, and you would provide some notice to employees of a potential change. It wouldn't be something that you would do right here, right now, but it could be undertaken as part of a review around your total your compensation for employees, having that conversation around perhaps changing the deductibles and things like this. But you want to make sure that you're providing the employees an opportunity, notice, so that they could also weigh in on that.
Mm-hmm. And so part of this is cut off, so I can't see the rest of that. But I'm wondering where it appears that the EPO costs more than 3 times what the PPO costs.
Yeah.
Is the city required to offer both and to pay for both?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you, but I don't know why that got cut off. My apologies for not catching that.
I'm wondering if the city is required to offer both an EPO and a PPO plan, or if the city could opt to offer only the PPO plan.
You could opt to do just the PPO.
Okay. It would be quite a savings to do that, would it not?
Potentially, there could be. You're looking at making a pretty big change from what your employees have been receiving as part of FRMS, and it might be something you might want to take a look at as far as perhaps a step down. They could then evaluate which pathway may be better, and have a more comprehensive view. Perhaps the city does PPO and then make the difference so that they pay the difference between PPO and EPO coverage. That could be something, but again, I would recommend that you have a strategic conversation around that, because that could affect how people are feeling in terms of retention issues.
Mm-hmm.
Something you want to weigh carefully and not in the moment.
Right.
Yes, Councilmember Napier.
Thank you. That goes to the question that I had is, from the staff's perspective, have they been able to look at this new package and review their impacts? And I know it's not going to be straight across the board, equal to equal, but is the feedback that it is at least livable right now with the staff?
Yeah, I met with staff yesterday because I was able to get all of the packet information as well as the enrollment forms. And we provided a larger conversation about the coverage. We didn't talk about the money, in that sense. There's a reference to the money, but we were really asking staff to receive the information, have them contact their care provider to get a sense of if they would need to do EPO or PPO. Different staff members have different items and providers, and that I need to have their enrollment packages by next Tuesday in order to have this uploaded the first week of December so that they can process it. The other piece is, this is a classic where there needs to be some separation between administration and the employees. And so they've got the phone number so that they can consult directly with the person to make more specific inquiries around their own health situation.
Great. Well, one final comment,
Go ahead.
if I may. Thank you for putting this together and making sure we even have an opportunity for them to continue coverage, and coverage that at least is similar to what they've had, and shame on FRMS.
Yeah.
Shame on them. If council is to look at the larger picture of the health benefits we provide and the EPO, PPO are all, I would say now is not the time to dither one way or another, that the next cycle, for fiscal budget would be something where you might examine that more closely. But I think what we have presented here, especially given we're outside of the normal cycle for enrollment, and as we look at the current environment and future environment for healthcare, I'd grab this in a heartbeat. And
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from council?
I'm just going to apologize because I misread this. So you can kind of scratch what I was saying, because the prices are not nearly as different as it looks.
You know what? I had to take this home several weekends because every time I tried to read it in the office, somebody else was coming, and then I would just lose my place. I've got, for each provider, I have a file like this, and sort of sifting my way through it. And I don't mind the questions. I love the extra eyes because you do begin to blur, and it's not as simple as, with Ernstum, they had a really interesting proposal, and they call it, it was a PPO virtual. And I'm like, what is a PPO virtual? And it's like this whole other program that they're putting together. It didn't compare to anything else. And, it wasn't quite, after you sifted through it, it wasn't quite as great as maybe what you thought it could be. But it was a real challenge. And I would say having a larger conversation, incorporating staff members into that, to be figuring out maybe a longer term approach would be really great. For the moment, I think that REMIF, there's a reason I made the recommendation for REMIF.
Councilmember Bayless, did you have any questions?
I just wanted
and Ryan may have something.
I just also wanted to say thank you, Jill, for all this hard work. And you were saying that we would just be participating. So if we went into the next year, then we wouldn't just be participating, we would be a full member. Is that how that works?
So it's actually twofold, actually, separate and distinct. As a participating member, you don't have to be a member of the JPA. There could be benefits or not benefits for people who serve on a joint powers authority, and you've read through certain things. There are some benefits and sometimes some commitments that a participating member wouldn't necessarily have to meet. So if council decided to change horses midstream, you're not going to be held the same way as if we were a member. If CIRA ends up incorporating REMIF, we're already a member of CIRA. So I think it would be there would be some administrative things. Ryan's got something for everybody, I think.
Yeah, I just want to say, as a participating member in this risk pool, we are subject to assessments. If they're, for whatever reason, they're operating at a deficit, the same type of assessment process that we just experienced with FRMS. Remit is a more stable agency with a larger membership base, but it's the same risk that we had with FRMS that we would have with Remit.
So if you wanted to avoid that altogether and just say, we don't want the risk, then you go with a private broker. And the private broker is going to, they're going to make sure that they're covering that cost because you're going to be charged more in the premium. So the key really comes down to the fact that REMIF, they're monitoring and they're reporting. And they do provide reports to the city on the basis of the claims. You can weigh in on their meetings in order to see, are we looking at any warning flags that are coming up? And REMIF has been, pretty good at communicating that information in advance. And unfortunately, that didn't happen with FRMS. And so that there could be concern and maybe just being a little skittish about it. Get it, got it. Which is why I had that conversation. Amy Connolly, she's amazing. And I really appreciated how forthright and direct she was around that, and the fact that they're taking these rapid changes very seriously, and they are looking to protect themselves to the best of their ability, by extension protecting us.
If we get assessed, is there any kind of a cap on how much we can be assessed for, or is it just a percentage of whatever?
There's no cap. I mean, they would end up, so what, yes, there's the assessment, but before they got to assessment, they would be looking at claim loss and then increasing the rates first. They've got a really healthy reserve. They want to protect that reserve. I think FRMS, they spent down their reserve as opposed to bumping up their premiums. So there could be some premium rate increases in the future. But I think that's, again, across the board.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from council? All right, I'd like to go ahead and open it up. Do you have one?
Yeah, I just wanted to, is the cost of REMIF coverage already incorporated into our draft budget? That's, we can address that when we get to the budget, but do you have any concerns for staff that may be experiencing, we want to avoid all gaps in any kind of coverage and any kind of ongoing transitional situations that might be overlapping into this transition period? I always worry about those transition periods, like making sure that there's no gaps and.
Well, the gap would occur if we don't secure so that it starts January 1st. So their coverage right now ends December 31st. So we need to have coverage effective January 1st.
Got it.
Any others?
No, I think everything was addressed. I do feel like it's an appropriate conversation at some point, just as a side note, about the GLP coverage, because that is an ongoing thing, and that a lot of insurance companies are backing down to, say, partnership criterion for GLP coverage. So that is something that if that does suddenly become an issue, that it is not uncommon at this point for those changes to be occurring.
Right, and that is far bigger than, Blue Lake isn't going to be like, nah, you guys don't get that coverage. We're going to give it to these guys.
No.
That is going to be industry-wide, and they're going to have to
Absolutely.
figure out how they're going to be addressing the issue of prescription drugs. Is GLP-1 now, and it's going to be some other boutique kind of prescription later. And I think it's part of that industry challenge from what I'm reading and seeing.
For sure.
Like I said, wasn't expecting to have to come up to speed on all of this stuff. I was looking at having to do my own enrollment, and I've got the deep dive now.
Well, thank you for doing your work. Appreciate it.
I'd like to go ahead and open up to the public. Does the public wish to comment on this item? Yes, go ahead.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Just come on up. To speak to Ryan and then Julie Christie's, one of the ways that you can help put guardrails into the comments is have council discussion, make a motion, make a second, and then take public comment, 'cause they know what the proposed action is going to be. You don't have to do it right now, but you might want to think about maybe that's something that council's approach might be, because then people could say, I support the motion that's on the table, I don't support it, and for the following reasons. And then council, you can then say, oh, that's a really good point, and I'm going to change, my position on that.
Great. Go ahead.
Thank you.
I've been an insurance biller for 20 years. So I've billed insurance. I've dealt with Anthem, I've dealt with Blue Cross, I've dealt with Remif. Remif is a solid company. They do a lot of the municipalities. We don't get a lot of claims back from them, but they have out-of-pocket in and out-of-pocket out expense. So you just want to make sure your people know about that. They're Blue Cross. Everybody takes Blue Cross. These companies dealing in Blue Shield, doctors come in and out of network with Blue Shield because Blue Shield is a crappy negotiator and they don't like to pay. So Remif has been a solid company for a long, long time. So as an insurance biller, that's just my opinion.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Good evening. My name's Jenny Short, for those of you that don't know me. Jill, I think you did a great job putting this together. I felt like reading the packet, I had a good understanding of what you had gone through and what it was that you were making a choice on. I would like to say that because you guys are a member of CalPERS, I was very surprised that that wasn't one of the options. And so I did print the one page out of our stuff that showed what their health plans for PPO, that is it's Anthem, is $1,043 for a single person. So it's very competitive with what you're suggesting here, with absolutely no risk of the potential for any sort of a clawback in the future. So I'll leave that for you.
So I did reach out to them. I didn't get anybody to contact me back in terms of,
more
yeah.
long-term, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
I did want to tell you, Elise, I think maybe the confusion on the 3 times as much is really because in her spreadsheet at the bottom, she has 3 people, and so
Yes.
it's being multiplied.
Yeah.
It's really only 165 apart. But I wanted to mainly speak to the policy for the resolution from 2017. I wanted to encourage you guys, especially in light of your next agenda item, that it's costing you roughly $70,000 a year to provide health insurance for dependents for 8 employees, and that's a lot for a city that's in the deficit you're currently in. The other thing that I looked at is you've got one person who has a family who's basically getting roughly $24,000 worth of benefit above his coworker who's single, which is $11.50 an hour. And that's a lot of difference from a single person to a person who has a family. There should be some more equity in how you do this across the board for your employees. Even if they just have themselves and one dependent, it's still $7.50 an hour. And so, like most of the places that I've seen have an allowance, and everybody has that allowance, and everything above that they have to cover. With these kind of differences, you could actually give people raises, then everybody would get a little bit of a raise for that. And I encourage you to offer both the EPO and the PPO. My experience is that HMOs don't work in Humboldt County because there just aren't in-network providers. It's scary to me to think that you would have insurance where an out-of-network person would never be covered under any circumstances. And I think in this area, we have problems with providers that are even PPO, and you end up in the out-of-network column in a lot of this stuff. So I encourage you to include both policies when you approve this one. Thank you.
Yeah, great, thank you. Any further public comment? All right, do we have anybody on Zoom? All right, Julie, go ahead.
I just want to thank everybody in the room, staff, public, or council. That was a really good discussion. I know I'm kind of catching it in and out, so I'm like getting everybody fed this evening, but I really appreciate that we have this dialogue for once. And Jill, I will concur with our prior speaker. Thank you for the preparation of this analysis. Personally, I've gone through Heidi and her daughter, Carly, for quite a few years now. for our business. And I know it's kind of out of our budget right now to get somebody local like that. But I'll tell you what, once we can finally get there, you guys, like I really would advise, they've been an amazing institute for us to work through. And they're local and we're helping our local economy doing that and the coverage. But I think there's a lot of details that everybody else brought up throughout the conversation that I know I brought up earlier, like, oh, make a motion, and thank you, Russ, for the clarification, and Jill. I think this one's kind of already like coded out, you know, a little bit better for moving forward for a motion. But sometimes when the conversation really like shifts super heavily, then that's when it's more appropriate. So I'm just throwing that in while I can. And I appreciate everybody. You guys, this is really awesome. I just appreciate this forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure. All right. Anybody else? All right, great. So bring it back to council for consideration of going with the recommendations or whatever we'd like to do.
Sorry, John, it's very hard to hear you.
I'm just looking for direction from the council or see if
More
we
than
can make a
direction?
motion.
I would like to approve the selection. I would like to move that we approve the selection of the Redwood Empire Municipal Insurance Fund as the city's health insurance provider for the upcoming plan year, and authorize the city manager to execute the REMIF participation agreement.
We have a motion by Louis Lusso. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Napier. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, it passes.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time on this agenda.
Thank you. You've got something else, Jill? Sorry.
You know, I'm wondering if maybe we could take a 5-minute break. Oh, perfect. So what I want to let folks know is that the presentation has been set up so that we can project it onto the screen. It has audio. Hopefully, it's going to work. Wasn't anticipating to get this sideways. Emily was so excited when she said, "We've run the video. It's great. We can hear everything." And so, yeah.
During that presentation, perhaps if we alternate.
Situation that when Justin left, he turned off all the speakers. So we're not able to get to the speakers. So I can speak really loudly, but these speakers are no longer able to connect over.
Oh, they don't? They don't?
That may be getting over onto Zoom. But so we do have a situation. So my question for council is this. When we scheduled this special meeting, it was for the comfort variance. I pushed this together because I was actually anticipating this to come to you on Tuesday, the 23rd, for your regular meeting. I had a conversation with Elise, and she said, well, we normally cancel the meeting on right before Thanksgiving. So the question would be, would you want to take this up on the 23rd? I don't know. I mean, I thought we were meeting the 19th and the 23rd. So I didn't get a chance to talk to anybody else, so I'm just covering my bases right now. We could take this and continue it on next Tuesday when we would normally do it, and then we could just move forward with the mountain bike, River Coast. I get the acronym all mixed up. Don't take it for anything other than collision in my head. But that might be the better way to explain. I've got a presentation. It's in video form. It's 20 minutes long. It'll just walk us right through. You've got this information. If you want to continue it, which I would recommend, because I did a lot of work so that you got this really well-organized information so that we can move forward with some action from council on that. So that would be my suggestion. We'll have council discuss first and take public comment. Gail, for being here. Correct. Everything's in a video. I don't have slides to walk you through each one. That's the shortcoming. Yeah.
Would you be willing to do it tonight and tomorrow and next week? Or do you feel like it's not a efficient use of
I
time?
mean, I can do my best. Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening. Even with all my shouting, you can't hear me? Yeah, we could sit together. Emily, why don't you go ahead and turn off that blower? That'll help.
But then you don't have the things.
Right, you're not going to have the visuals, and there are some pieces that are really important. Part of what you're going to see in this presentation, and the reason I built it the way I did, is there are charts and graphs around our total budget, our total expenditures, break it down in terms of our the general fund, the funding sources for the general fund, and then I break it further down into the funds and what their revenues and expenditures are, so you can see where we have positive numbers and where we have a deficit, because that's going to help us inform the actions that we take to resolve. We do have a deficit, as was noted in the staff report, of about $206,000. $170,000 of it is related to the general fund, and the remainder, about $130,000, is primarily related to the water. So it is a larger conversation. I've also introduced a organization chart and some steps that we could start taking, and that was all put into that presentation. So it's more than I think you guys have typically received in a budgetary conversation. I mean, if you're expecting what you've received in the past, this isn't what you're going to get. So it was going to be a more robust, as well as the introduction of the layout, so that you can get a better understanding of the individual general ledger numbers and how things total up, without having to do that manually if you want to do it previously. So I think you'll be happier if you postpone it to next week. I'm gonna look to Ryan on that one. I don't have a problem putting it on the website for tonight, but I think it might create a little disconnect for people in terms of, well, when did they talk about it? I wasn't there. I mean, so I don't have a problem making it available.
As long as it's made publicly available.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, full explanation. The narration's already in there. This is what I was doing on Sunday when you were texting me.
So I'd like to weigh in as ad hoc member on the budget. Councilmember Bayless and I were able to see this video.
You saw a draft.
We saw a draft, and it was excellent. I think it would give the public the benefit of formulating questions, identifying areas that might warrant further discussion or examination. And yeah, there's no legal restriction, and I would say let's post that on the website tomorrow, and then people can take a look at it. And the expectation will be we will still present it at the meeting on Tuesday.
So my question to council would be, do we have a quorum available next week on the 23rd? I'll be here in town.
I'm here.
Okay. Everybody's here? Ow. Oh my God. Why are we having this conversation?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Tuesday.
So,
do you need a motion on that?
I do not. We'll
Thank you.
we'll go ahead and continue this to Tuesday, the 23rd. And I will work with Emily in getting the video uploaded. Oh, 25th. Am I saying the 23rd? Thank you. I'm thinking December. I told you, this is why I opened it off the cuff. Emily, are you able to do that?
Yes. Yes.
Excellent. Look at that. We're going to have a short meeting. Thank you. Yes. Are they connected? Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask. I'm sorry. I'm not making any assumptions at this point. All right. So this is not the first time this particular item has come before you. There were some questions that had been raised, prior to, and yours truly had inadvertently uploaded the incorrect MOU. But in the course of that conversation, I think that there was some really good dialogue that occurred between council and some of the representatives of some of the bike groups. And out of that came some additional direction to general counsel, who was able to incorporate the general tone and tenor and provisions into an amended MOU, which is in your packet. I do want to note that the MOU that is in the packet, the changes are in highlighted form, so that way you could very quickly see exactly where Ryan had made the proposed changes. I don't know that I need to go into a whole lot of detail here because we have had this come forward, but I do want to emphasize a couple of things. One is that, an MOU is a memorandum of understanding. It is not implicit approval of the bike project. And I think that the conversations that have transpired over the course of this summer and this fall, it's made it pretty clear that, the project was a little different in terms of everybody's different understandings, of it. I think the bike association thought the city was taking on more responsibility. The city thought that the bike group was taking on more responsibility. It was going to look like this. It was going to look like that. There were a lot of different understandings about what this bike park was going to be. And I think the MOU is going to allow the parties to coordinate and plot a path forward as far as the project. And we recognize across the board, I've heard from a variety of people, that the project needs to actually be defined. There's differing understandings about what the project is, and I had a really good conversation last week with Gina Bauer about this. We need to define the project. There's going to have to be amendment of the building permit, because as well as the planning permit, and in terms of planning commission review, because the project did deviate from that which has been previously approved, and we need to be able to get back into that. I put this item after the budget so that people understood where we were financially, and the fact that, the city is in a deficit in the general fund, and there is no grant money that's lined up to provide the funding necessary to see this project move forward. And I would really like to see that there would be a working group that could be formed of representatives from council or staff with the association, so that we could develop that pathway, present it to council, so that you guys can say, yeah, we like this, or can you make sure that we've incorporated this step as well. When I came on board initially, projects get sideways sometimes, and you figure out what the necessary corrective actions were. What I did not anticipate was that there were so many differences of opinion about what this project was, and that our own grant applications deviated from each other. So I really want to see everybody sit down and actually have a working conversation around what this project is and scale it back, you know, to basically its essence, and make sure that it's something that is going to be a safe, that is going to be, you know, we're not going to have any unnecessary exposures, if you will, working closely with our insurance company, so that we can see some sort of a project proposal that can come before council, get your final blessings, and then we identify what the funding is going to be in order to have some sort of you know, clear path that's approved. I really think that's probably it. I think that I would open it up unless you guys have some more specific questions. It's a little bit of the, you know, the chicken or the egg, but I really want to emphasize approving the MOU, which basically says that we're going to work together in good faith. You know, and it's not implicit approval of the project, but there is a recognition of the importance of coordinating, communicating more directly with city and council before moving anything forward. I don't know if there's anything else. Ryan?
I would just say, my sister told me, I told her tomorrow, I didn't let her proofread my edit, so we talked about that was up there.
Yeah.
Section 6. Other than that, you know, this MOU is an agreement to cooperate on fundraising, and also on, when we get there, volunteer hours and work towards the project when the city's ready to move forward with the project. So approving this MOU isn't a go to continue with the project in any way, shape, or form. It's setting up a framework by which the city and the EDA can work together and help fund and complete the project at the council's direction.
I just had the typos, C8.
I'm sorry?
Typos.
Which you flag?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
You got both of them?
Got both of them.
Yeah. I'm the typo. I'm the typo one.
Any other questions?
I'm being redundant in the question. I just want to make sure that I'm absolutely clear. So this MOU that you provided to us, Ryan, this is what was originally submitted by RCBA to the city review, and the only changes that you've made are those in yellow?
So we highlighted some changes at the last council meeting that I had included in circulating drafts with RCBA, for example, changed the insurance provisions to indemnity, we added some additional wetlands that were used out. The things in yellow are those additional changes that came from the last council discussion.
RCBA wish to comment at all since this is our item together? Yeah, go ahead.
Just make sure you're speaking really loud.
Thanks for having us. The one item that in the new highlighted section that gave us a little bit of pause, we're absolutely on board with everything, transparency, sharing open books, everything like that. Our only pause was the quarterly fiscal reporting, because we are all volunteers, and our treasurer is a volunteer, and we were hoping that we could make that biannual or annual. I don't know if the necessity is quarterly for books or anything like that. It's not a deal breaker, but it would help us out with volunteer time if we could make that biannual. Okay, that's all about that.
Anybody else
Do
want to
give his name.
We'll open up the public comment.
So is it questions or comments? Either one. So one of the things, when we talked about this MOU before, one of my issues, because I understand that this isn't a formal to say how we're going to proceed with this, and it's still open. But what this does say to me is that we are saying to the public, we aren't agreeing to anything, but we are saying to the public that we agree to take on the bike park, and that we are going to try to work out all of these things and figure out how we're going to pay for it. I understand that the bike park is something that's been in the works, but when I look back at the original intent.
Yes. Just to clarify my understanding of the conversation, is it a desire to create an ad hoc committee to go back and rehash the MOU, or is it a discussion around forming an ad hoc committee post MOU? One other thing I'd like to say is it's a mess. It's a mess, and there's no debate that it's an absolute mess. And our city here is here to support the community and try to build trail and recreational infrastructure. That's our goal. And we recognize that there was a huge mess and a lot of missteps in this process. And if the council, if the city's desire is to go backwards, all the way, bulldoze it, whatever. Like, the idea is to build bike park, something that is sustainable, safe, manageable, that works for the city. And if that's what has to happen to make it happen, we're here to help. So, to be clear, we're not adversaries. We very much want to work together to try to push forward recreation infrastructure.
We appreciate that.
So when I sit here and listen to this, and Jill, you said that they were the fundraisers. I mean, that's what they thought their intent was. So to me, it sounds like nobody, what's in here? What, like this?
They were little fundraisers.
Oh, they were little fundraisers. I mean, they raised about $35,000 in 3 years. That's nowhere close to $400,000. It seems like the city is afraid to take responsibility for this bike park because we don't even know what it is. And then you guys, you want to be a part of it, but you really don't want to take responsibility for it. That was never your intent to take responsibility for the bike park. Your intent was to raise funds for it. So it seems like nobody really wants to take responsibility for the bike park. And I don't know how everybody comes together. The city doesn't have money to build it, and somebody's got to raise what the city thought was that the bike people were going to raise the money to build this bike park. But at $35,000 in 3 years, we're not going to get a bike park built. And the city right now doesn't have money to build a bike park. So nobody really wants to take responsibility for this bike park. I don't know how all of you are going to come together and build a $400,000 bike. So I hope you can come to some kind of understanding. We're having camping out there. We're not charging for it. You know, there could be lots of ways to raise funds. We're not going to raise enough money by selling t-shirts like Mandy told us we were going to do. So somehow we have to raise a lot of money. I don't know how you're going to come to understand.
I live in Blue Lake, and I've seen the kerfuffle that's going on. And my specialty is doing capital improvement projects where we use grant funds. And it seems to me like the only way you're going to fund this is through grant. And I I agree with Kat that we really need to determine whether this is something the residents of the city want here and that outfall that comes from having a recreational facility that brings people into your community. And if it is something that Blue Lake wants to pursue, especially if it's a source of revenue for you, which you desire, then we need to put staff time into doing grants and working with you guys and other groups to get support community-wide, county-wide, that makes a grant possible. And there's a lot of propositions that are coming out that have the potential for this. And so I think a lot of it, I mean, I'd like to see you guys do the MOU because it places something on paper that allows you to move forward. And it seems like that's kind of the next step that you need to do to rectify where you're at. Because you have most of the park out there. So.
To address like what Kat's talking about, I think with a MOU, I believe that if we get that together, this group can provide all that you asked for, like what the objective is. And I realized after a long conversation with the city manager, that there's going to be a lot of, we have to backtrack a long ways. Gather up all the information, tighten all the loose ends, and then we can present it to the city council. What our objective is, what the final plan is, a legitimate, permitted, exactly what we're going to do. This would be the first step right here. We have to go back quite a few steps because of the mistakes we made. I acknowledge that, and this is the first step. Okay, we're going to work together to get to provide the city council what is needed here. What essentially, what is the objective? And we can tell you, maybe acknowledge how much traffic's going to bring, quite a bit of information. And I encourage our city council to ask us, to say, okay, we're on board. We'll probably do the bulk of the work to try to get this engineered properly, and maybe some grants. And there's just so many steps. All the loose ends that we missed, we'll try to bring together. I'm going to encourage you to pass this, to approve this.
Thank you.
John Bartholomew, Blue Lake resident, and I am a member of RCMBA. Not on the board, but I am a member, and I also, to dovetail on Ron's comments, do encourage the city to establish this MOU with RCMBA, which is in my opinion, a very solid association with a very competent and engaged board that will do what it takes to do what's best for the bike park and working with the city. So I would encourage the city to move forward. There are grants out there for these types of projects, and I would encourage the city to work locally with the Humboldt Lodging Alliance. They're getting 2% of the transient occupancy taxes collected across the county for tourism-related projects. And it is really their mandate to support projects that bring tourism into the county and put heads in beds. That's what most of the alliance is about. They are hotel owners, and but they're getting this money to help develop tourism and bring people from outside the area into Humboldt County so that they benefit, businesses around the county benefit, there's more revenue coming into the cities, and et cetera. And so I would encourage the city to apply for one of those, it's called a community development fund that they get money out of. And they have money. They are the ones that help fund the majority of the skywalk by the zoo in Sequoia Park. they've got money coming from the county. Every single quarter, they get many thousands of dollars. And it is their goal to support projects that bring in tourism. And along those lines, the Rancheria is also in their best interest to put more heads in beds in their motel. So I think that there's money available on that side of the equation also. And the bump track competitions, these are global events. This is not something that's just going to be piped on by our local MX riders. If there are events, there are people that will come here to participate. And I encourage the city to establish them. You folks will make a great partner. Sorry, I'm over. But I encourage everyone to go forward and make it a good team. Yeah, committee, you can make this happen.
Council, my name is Sean Robertson. I'm a board member with RCMBA. I'm also the head coach and team director for the Humboldt County High School mountain bike team. We've built a few of these projects in the county, and what our mission is as part of RCMBA and the mountain bike team is to develop community benefits for the children who live there, as well as to building community involvement in leaders in that. The intent originally from everyone, I think, was to provide a recreational opportunity in Blue Lake. And that's how we were approached to help design and develop that, and that's ballooned to where we are today. We've done that successfully in Arcata, we've done that successfully in Fortuna, we've done that also in Humboldt County, where we're looking to attract and all of these are opportunities. Sure, for tourism is one big thing, and providing ultimately revenue for communities in our county is important, because that's a challenge for everybody. But also it provides recreational benefits and development benefits for the youth in those communities, and that's another huge part of what we're looking for. This partnership is really important, not just to finish this project or to help you figure out what it is you want it to be. We're partners with all of our communities because we want to create these community opportunities. It's your land, the bike park is already there. We have expertise, knowledge, and resources to help fund that. So the best interest for everyone, including yourselves, is to start with this MOU so we can at least have a partnership to develop whatever this project looks like. The intent and the vision is ultimately yours, but we're a partnership with every community we interact with. We're part of all the communities in our county, and we just want to make it better for everyone.
My name's Kevin Fisher. I'm a volunteer. And I would just like to echo the sentiments that these folks also said. As a volunteer, as we've been going along designing and building this thing, I always felt like it was going great. And that we had all the understanding with the community. And so it surprised me to find out that there was a lot of confusion when the new council was elected and Mandy was swept away, and now everything sort of crumbled. I agree totally with what Art was saying, on saying, she was saying. There is money out there, and I don't know how to get it. I'm just a volunteer, but we should try to pursue some of those grants, try to, and I encourage you to make the first step to start this MOU. And I also, if there's going to be an ad hoc committee, I would love to be a part of it. I want to help move this project forward. I want to help this community to have good stuff like this bike park to do, for people to have fun. So let's have the MOU get approved.
Let's all vote on it. Everyone?
Hi. Lower my hand. This might, okay. There you are.
You go ahead.
In the development of this project, which seems to have been very confusing, and trying to keep up with what was going on in the industrial park, and this, I'm concerned about the zoning. We had an O zoning for this area that the bike park is in. So, are we clear that that was changed to recreation? From the O zone to a recreation zone or park facility? Because I would assume that the bike park would be, if it's going to be shown as a bike park, it's going to be part of the whole park and facilities of the city of Blue Lake. And I'm trying to find a foundation and trying to find a place to start with this. Are we clear on the zoning?
Yes.
Okay, so it's recreational zoning?
When I was reading through some of the documents, that was one of the consistency determinations that the Planning Commission had to make relative to the project. So they went through and they made those determinations. I can't speak to the specifics right now, just because I don't have that information memorized. But when it went to the Planning Commission, that's part of when they gave that approval process, and then they also flagged that if the project was to deviate from that which had been approved, it needed to come back to the Planning Commission, which is why that's one of the corrective actions that'll need to be taken. So they wouldn't have approved it if it wasn't consistent with the zoning and land use designations.
So we're any understanding MOUs or such are not going to be affected by later developments that, oh no, the zoning wasn't right?
I don't believe so. I mean, I would defer to Ryan with, you're more familiar with that ordinance that was out there than I am. Yeah, as I recall, it was interesting because when it did come forward, it did identify, even use the example of a bike park. That was one of the kind of envisioned activities that could be out there.
Yeah, I was just thinking if there's something to be had in MOUs and such that it would be, have to be totally clear. So that's it for tonight for me. Thank you for all for being here and your hard work.
Great. Is there any other comment on this? All right. That's all for comment. Seeing none, bring it back to council for consideration. And I think at this point, we need to figure out what's going on. I don't think there's any harm in sending a new writer in person. But you guys consider designating either docket or
I would hope that the ad hoc would meet with members of the RCMBA and their board and kind of go back through some of the issues that we've had, because, I'm hearing a lot of really great stuff in all of these comments. Like, Ron, I really appreciate it. It sounds like you spent some time with the city manager, and we're very fortunate to have somebody who's doing that deep dive and being objective and just trying to lay things out.
I was really one of my
And then, hearing that energy of others, it's like, the grants that you're saying where we could obtain just one. But there's a but, which is the objectives that we established have to be from the council representing the public. And so I guess part of the conversation I would want that ad hoc that we really extend with our today is, can you work with objectives of the council? The goal of this idea of a world renowned bike park here in our backyard at Blue Lake might be something that is, thrilling and of interest and absolutely a revenue generating potential. But what we end up with really needs to be reflective of the character of Blue Lake, what the people want, what we can sustain. And so I'm just re-expressing my concern one last time that what we are moving forward with in partnership is a reflection of what the council is bringing forward, and that we are doing a good job representing the public rather than it being driven by what the RCMBA wants to see. And that's a big ask, because we're saying, you guys help fulfill what we want to do, and it might not be what you're dreaming. But I think that's part of our open dialogue, a place that we have to start with and say, how do we come across that abyss with each other and move forward? And so I'm asking the ad hoc to, if you could maybe make a commitment, and I'd be ready to move forward on an MOU, but I'd like to see that. Yeah, that ad hoc in the RCBA. Yes, please.
Of course, that's the intent of moving forward with the ad hoc, of course.
And can I offer, as I'm listening to all of you, this is bigger than the bike park. There are a number of events that occur within Blue Lake. And maybe one of the things you ought to be looking at is a master recreational plan, where you begin to look programmatically at all the different events, all the different facilities that are pulling people in. Right now, you're kind of piecemealing, right? And I've heard in my very short time here, issues and concerns that have been expressed by residents and likewise by proponents. You really need to find some balance in the community and maybe developing a sort of programmatic approach to how and where events are being held might help give some accommodations and mitigations is a big picture sort of thing. Just a thought, I don't want to get sideways, but I do think that Blue Lake's in a really unique location, and you have take a look at the development of many other communities here on the North Coast. You've got way more recreational opportunities here than many other communities. Capitalize on it, figure out how to develop that balance through a master plan. So it's just a thought. I don't want to get sideways from the MOU, but I think that there's like a larger, conversation that might be really beneficial to be working towards.
Second.
Who made the second?
Second.
Thank you.
Aye.
then we have a closed session. We're doing it?
Can't hear you.
We have some reports.
I think it would be good for us to get this one wrapped up. We don't want to postpone closed session, do we?
No.
Oh, council
No, we're
correspondence.
following the
Yes,
agenda.
that we can do. That's why I was saying I can't hear you.
That carries over to the
Thank
23rd.
you.
Thank y'all. That means 24th.
Too many conversations, I can't track. We're going to continue that to the, next week.
Do we need a motion to continue
No.
item 12? Thank you.
So 11 and 12 are moving to the next meeting, is
Yeah.
that what I'm hearing? Okay, okay. Okay, so now we're in close.
No, we are not in closed.
Well, we will be.
I like how sly that was. Okay, we'll have to have that read, and then we'll make sure that Emily's got everything turned off so that we're not continuing broadcast. But let's go ahead and read into.
Public comment on closed
Yeah,
session item.
we have to announce it and take public comment typically. How do you want to do this?